Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good day. My mouth is still kind of effed, but this time from the cigars and the little cigarellos that I smoked yesterday, because yesterday was an act of complete pleasure and to show me that it can be so much worse and it can be better right now, and to understand that even the small little acts that I'm doing, although it doesn't feel like it's immediately getting better, will lead to something grand and better. Alright, there's also the voice recording I will be posting today. That one has me actually while I was smoking the cigar, because I very much love to reflect while I smoke cigars. Because, well, I mean, you're sitting there for already like 40 minutes. So you got to be doing something while you do it, you know? It's always served as that. Especially even when in college when I picked it up. And it's like an occasional thing, like once every 2 months or like once a month, depending. I was doing it once a month. There was a month where I was doing it like weekly. And then I kind of stopped. Cigars are expensive. Especially if you're not buying like an actual case of... Anyways, today's word of the day. Persist. P-E-R-S-I-S-T. Persist. It is a verb. 1. To hold firmly and steadfastly to some purpose or undertaking despite obstacles. Number 2. To continue in existence. Persistence is a noun, persistent is an adjective, and persistently is an adverb. The word of the day is persist. That's what me going to the gym is. Continually, I persist to go to the gym. I believe I'm using that correctly, and if I'm not, well, this is the whole point of why I'm reading the dictionary, why I talk out loud, why I continue to read books. Because reading stuff online at this point, it's not as trustworthy. It's not the grandest thing I want to do anymore. I'll go ahead and turn down the volume because, yeah. In text. But yeah, I switched my alarm. I accepted some things. I had my alarm set for 5:30 in the morning. I would wake up to that alarm, the 5:45 one, then I'd go back to sleep, and then I'd wake up an hour later feeling absolutely groggy. So then I switched it. I went all the way to 2:30. And 2:30, what the hell? To 6:30. An hour when I actually would get up. And man, does it feel so much nicer. Especially when you're waking up in the middle of the night to just other noises that are around you. Although I'm a heavy sleeper, there's those like... My parents let the dogs out, so the dogs start to whimper because they want to come back inside because they want to be near us. Let's say they're spoiled, but that's also true. But they're dogs, you know, we're the ones that went ahead and domesticated the dogs. So to call a dog spoiled, especially since a dog, I believe, is a luxury to have as a companion, you can sure say that they are spoiled. But it was taken on as something you believed, you know. Anyways, regardless, I wake up in the middle of the night to that, you know, to go let them out, to go use the restroom, and that's okay. What wasn't okay was allowing myself to continue to keep the alarm at 5:30 when 6:30 was reasonable. I believe, you know, studies will tell you 7 to 9 hours of sleep is what you need. I have gotten along okay for okay with 6 hours. That's what I was doing when I was like in school and juggling a lot of stuff. As long as I got my 6 hours, I was functioning pretty well. I was functioning well. try to sleep for those 7 to 9 hours, go to sleep early, I still find myself waking up even earlier in the morning. That's what happens. Sometimes I'll go to sleep at like 10, and then I'm still getting up at like 4 in the morning, and I'm just like, well, might as well go to the gym at this time. Recently, it hasn't been happening. I've been going to sleep at close to midnight, if not like 11. Between 11 to midnight is when I'm going to sleep. I think recently the latest I've stayed up was to 1:30 a.m. And some people might say that's not late. I believe if you're not calling 1:30 a.m. late, you've really, really, really altered your circadian rhythm to something, I don't know. Am I tweaking? I can't tell. Well, I'm just gonna go then. That's very interesting. 1:30 a.m. is really, really late when we have evolved to have our sleep schedules be correlated with when the sun sets and rises. So, you live your life your way. I'm not saying there's anything completely wrong with that. We desire people who work overnight and night shifts, etc. Because we want to make the people at the very top rich. Because screw ourselves, screw our health. We're just workers to make their dreams come true. You have dreams as well too. And yes, you can get that house. Yes, you can get that car. But at the cost of your well-being is quite an interesting question. I said it the other time, although Elon was working 100-hour work weeks, he realized that in his lifetime he was not going to be able to get to Mars without the help of others. And without the help of many, many people doing a lot of the work that he honestly probably thought was mundane, repetitive, and just plain out not worth his time. Who am I though? I'm not him. I can't speak for him. I can only make my educated guesses off of many things that the person says, especially with the body language, tone, mannerism that they explicitly express in interviews, but more importantly is the interactions that they have and they do between questions that gives more information about a person. It is how we sit in the silence that demonstrates our character more than it does through our actions and through our words. Can you sit alone with yourself, sit in silence, and appreciate it? Or do you feel like you need to be occupied by some sort of sound through it? In my personal case, I can appreciate the silence wholeheartedly. As I've meditated for a long period of time. I think let me not say a long period of time. The longest I've ever meditated in a singular day, singular 24 hours, was 4 hours. And you're just there. But to take the act of even just doing it for 10 minutes a day, and that moments of silence for reflection is grand and great. And speaking of reflection, a big thing that I was sitting on the couch before I came into the car to talk about and discuss was my acts of yesterday. I am reading a book. The book is It Takes What It Takes by Trevor Moab. I read the front cover with Andy Staples, who also assisted in the writing. I spent that day making an active choice to live a day where I'm not pushing towards my goals, and rather actually probably pushing myself against my goals to see how my body would feel. People tell you, don't do this, it's horrible, don't do this, it's horrible, don't do this, it's horrible, and you just blindlessly take it. I'm not saying every single thing you have to experience. I'm not trying to say that with these next set of examples. However, I decided to actively be conscious of the next preceding actions for that day, where I did not go to the gym yesterday. I decided to sleep in. My alarm went, I went, whatever, I'm sleeping in. To not shower. To sit in my filth and disgust. To go buy small little single cigarillos and a cigar, and to day drink, and to eat absolutely horribly. And what I mean horribly, for someone who's trying to put on mass and lose weight, I don't believe chicken nuggets, Pop-Tarts, pizza is exactly the right diet to be pursuing. To go ahead and just go to sleep close to when I need to go to bed, to take a quote-unquote nap, 2-hour nap. To not go to sleep on time. To not actively think while I play video games. These acts themselves, although they seem small and are not really the most destructive, display that if I was to consistently do this day after day after day after day, would be very destructive. Yet, so many people around the city that I live in are constantly doing these things because they find that their social circles are knitted with these acts. I don't like... Let me take a look at this. And I didn't immediately brush my teeth after I smoked cigars. If you've ever sat there with the taste of cigars on your teeth, that muck, it's not the most grand thing in the world. Have you ever had those headaches because you're not appropriately drinking water because you're just dehydrating your body with alcohol? My rule of thumb is when I'm drinking, it's usually a shot or a beer or whatever, then a cup of water to keep myself hydrated well enough so my brain isn't just dehydrated from all the alcohol that I'm consuming. To not go to sleep during the day, especially closer to when I'm going to sleep, because that disrupts my sleep schedule, especially when I have things that are planned for the next day. To know that if I mindlessly play and not actively focus on improving on a video game, then I'm going to be stuck at whatever rank I'm at. And it's going to make it harder for me. Or rather, it is going to be difficult to prove to the system that I am not placed appropriately as I've learned and progressed so much more. That sleeping in later does not, especially after waking up, does not make me feel any better, but rather even groggier and slouchier in the morning. To know that when I eat these unhealthy options that are sugar loaded, full of more fats and carbohydrates than proteins, especially fats that aren't so great for you, then I feel the guilt inside my mind on how this just contributes to the fat on my body. It lets me know that although right now, and I'm somewhat quoting the book here, that most of the things I can do won't make it immediately better. But there's sure of a hell of a lot more things that I can do that will make it a shit ton worse. And that's just a simple truth. And so I'm glad that I'm reading this book at this exact time. I am glad that I took yesterday to go ahead and do these self-destructive acts, because it makes it so much more aware through experience of the negativity, of the negative acts, that I understand, yeah, it could be so much worse. So I'm going to keep on doing the shit that I know is right. I might not know where I want to be in the future right now. I might not have that completely planned out. And that's okay. But I sure as hell know where I don't want to be. I sure as hell know I don't want to be a deadbeat. I don't want to just be drinking and smoking all damn day, not contributing to society in a meaningful way that is meaningful to me. You can live your life however you choose to. However you choose is fine, is perfectly okay, it is. You're experiencing it the way that you want to. I'm not trying to slander anybody. But I will slander myself for not accepting the fact that everything that I do each day that is maintaining me at this point, rather than making me feel like, hold on, let me rephrase that. I am taking for granted the acts that keep me away from the things that will do so much worse, like showing up to the gym, like meal prepping, like sitting on the couch, not doing anything more than simply existing in that moment. Sure, there is so much more I could be doing to make it so much better. But there's also so much I could be doing that makes it so much worse. And the act of me just sitting there and just being conscious of the fact that there's things that I would like to plan and do. And a lot of the time, I'm sitting there actively thinking on where the future is to hold with the way that the world is going, with the bits and snippets that I get from social media. I am unsure at this point in time. I believe some people will agree with me. I'm not going to say many, but some will agree with me that I no longer believe who is a credible source. Even the people who I watch as content creators can be bought out. When you hear that gambling apps or websites, companies are willing to pay content creators $30,000 a month for something, how many people might be able to join that bandwagon? And what makes it so crazy is that these content creators still, this time for free, promote. Like, do you not understand that when you talk about, like, I'm not going to say it like that. Let me not phrase it that way. But please understand that when you still mention the offer of how much you were going to get paid by this app, and you explicitly say the name of the app, you are no longer getting paid by the app for whatever it might be, and you just went ahead and gave them a free shout out. And you might say, I didn't say go do it. You said the name. You put the name out there in the world. Even me, the act of me saying this, although I may be a nobody in many, many people's worlds, maybe even if there's one person who's doing this, but I feel atrociously bad even speaking about it, because maybe even the one person that I'm making an impact on might hear it and suddenly go and do it, because they become so helpless that they feel that they have to leave it up to some chance at doing it. You no longer think that your life is in your control when you put it up to chance. I believe that half of it is in your control and half of it is fate. But I'm gonna tell you now, I don't believe that fate is going to lie on a digital space where the numbers can be easily manipulated. When I've seen casinos, when the machine quote unquote malfunctions on a jackpot and instead gives a person a voucher for a meal, that shows you it's rigged. It's not made for you to win. It's not, especially when someone is giving you a chance, especially through a digital space. There's no. It's already rigged. People play with loaded dice. People play with altered decks. Sure, you may say that even in person it's not the same. But at least in person, if you fucking lose it all, at least there might be someone else on the table who lost it all with you, so you both can go get a drink. But it feels so much more defeating sitting alone behind a computer screen, losing it all, and having no one else to sympathize with and feel what you're going through. It just isn't the same. I'm not saying go gamble. I'm not saying that. You can go do what you want with your own life, and the content creators who went ahead and did the same thing I just did will say, well, I didn't tell them to go do that. That's their problem. You have a lot more influence, and that influence is a power, and you have to, when you control sort of specific masses, because people look towards you for a sort of comfort or for a voice of reasoning, you have to be a lot more conscious. You have to be very conscious. Not a lot more. Not more. But you have to be conscious of the things that you spit out in reverb. And it becomes a lot of your character. It's a display of your character for these people. Well, I'm at the gym. Thank you for listening. I've taken a lot more time to actually talk these ones out. Because, well, I like talking. And even the chance, if there's one person who listened through this through and through, like I was when I was sort of in high school listening to podcasts on SoundCloud, and these people don't know whoever crosses their path, I appreciate you. I appreciate whoever you may be. So, thank you. Truly, thank you. Alrighty. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good day. Alright. Whew. Taking a deep breath in. I'll just begin with today's word of the day, and then go ahead and begin discussing things. Not my CD marker. That is not what I want to use. I probably should leave the other pen in here. This black one, because I left the other one inside the... Actually, I have the book on me. But I'm going to leave it inside the book. I'm trying to think, where have I not picked the word from? Right here. Oh, okay, the word is phlegm. It is spelt P-H-L-E... Oh, wait, hold on. Yeah. P-H-L-E-G-M. Phlegm. It's a noun. It is stringy, thick mucus produced in the respiratory tract. Phlegm. Wow. That is a word. Phlegm. P-H-L-E-G-M. Phlegm. Huh. Alright. That was today's word of the day. Now to leave this pen here and to be on my way to the gym. And to do my best not to touch the wire, not to hit the mic, not to ruin the audio. So, reading, it takes what it takes. The influence I have over myself is the most powerful one. But I still constantly feel the pressure of listening to my parents on doing things. And it's because I currently live with them. And it was just the set of circumstances that led to this point. I.e., I broke a bone and I had to come back home. I'm still healing. It still hasn't been 3 months since the incident, which was the minimum amount of time my doctor said I was going to need to have it healed. I'm not going to say all the way back to normal, but enough to get like an office job, I suppose. my disability won't last that long. So I have to find another job. I currently just sleep on the couch, and I have been for the last couple months. And I believe last night, it just struck my head where I felt the need to find a job that's going to relocate me, that's going to pay for that, or the housing initially at the start, so I get my footing. Because I'm not meant to be a couch surfer. And I understand the book said that there's not a lot I can do right now that can make it a whole lot better, and there's a lot more I could do to make it a whole lot worse. But at this point, approaching the 3 months, getting to the point where this disability money is not going to go ahead and support me for the year write-off that I have. Hell, even if I only had done 6 months for this, right, it still wouldn't have supported me for 6 months. So I have to start job searching again. And I remember when I got out of college, God, I was extremely stressed. But I was able to find a job, and man, that job was amazing. I met immaculate people there. It was interesting every single day that I showed up. That's not where I'm at anymore. And I accept that. So today has this plan of revamping my resume and looking at jobs that do pay for relocation. Hopefully here in California, but I'll look around. Maybe I gotta broaden my horizon. I gotta explore, I gotta be open. And as much as this world may be shaken right now, tomorrow comes. It's shown time and time again. Even when atrocious acts occur in history for specific civilizations, tomorrow comes. It is those who, and I'm taking knowledge and wisdom out of It Takes What It Takes, it is those who have hope that continue to stride into tomorrow at full strength. It is hope. Hope is this strong feeling. I have to go ahead and detox from negativity. Not because the book said so, but the book puts it very evident, especially in the example that it gives you when you have to go ahead and do that number search in descending order. If I have to be completely honest, I didn't read descending, and so I was going upwards for the first two, and then I got to the last one, and then I was like, oh, I see what the problem is here. I was doing it the wrong way. However, I understood entirely what it is. It's not by myself. I believe I have a great internal dialogue that I have built up over this last year. It can be better, yes, but very much from the year before that one. Go back 2 years, the internal dialogue is not the same as it is now. where it's a lot, I want to say it is very positive, and now I understand I need to go ahead and put the brakes a little bit on the positivity and reset to this neutral mindset, because the neutral mindset gets you to the truth. It doesn't have you biased in a certain direction, because this sort of, the bias that you have even with a positive mindset, it allows for the contrasting negative ideas to pester your mind. So I'm putting a bigger push on actually this neutral mindset. And I believe it was, as much as the book has came to me at a point when I was starting to understand that you have to walk the middle path. You have to be right in the middle, because I would observe it with my little brother when we would go outside and practice pitching, where if he got too frustrated, he would pitch towards the ground. He'd pitch really, really low. He was agitated, holding on to the ball. And when he threw a great strike or a great, change-up, and I see that sort of enthusiasm inside of him, well, then he would let go of the ball way too early. It's flying over the top where, we're sending it to the moon. And this was like multiple, it was not just one incident. This was like a series of like 5 times where I noticed it. And so I was telling him, hey, keep your cool. Go ahead and breathe it off. You already threw that last pitch. It sucked. Okay? That's fine. Or the ump called it, whatever he did. Don't let that one influence this next one. This is a totally new pitch. And the same thing happens with with the positivity. And the positivity is a little bit, why would you not want to feel the positive emotions when it's so, I want to say, addicting? To feel this sort of like, oh my God, everybody's rooting for me. But when you feel that up, you get really biased to thinking that you are the absolute greatest, and you neglect actually, how many pitches have I thrown? You begin to neglect the actual point where your body's at, or you neglect that this pitcher is known for hitting these type of balls, that and that's what neutral thinking does, is it puts you back in the zone to look at truth just completely raw. Like raw truth. And I took this into my own practice for video games. So I sit at home, I play Deadlock, the Valve game. And it was with neutral thinking where I had to accept the facts of my own strengths and weaknesses to go ahead and begin to rank up. Because, I have this goal of reaching a turn to 6. And to achieve this goal, I have to go ahead and 1, win, but 2, improve to match the level at which these people are playing at, to understand exactly what's going on there. Why the fuck's everybody here and their mama at the gym? I'll park over here. And so neutral thinking really is the one that leads the pack in a mindset to move forward. Now, how does this relate to everything I was talking about before with wanting to relocate? Well, thinking positively that I'll find the job here and everything will be well is, I believe, sort of a copium and lying to myself about the absolute truth on how I feel. You have to be honest with yourself, even your feelings, and I don't care. Okay, let me phrase it like this. From my experiences, I have learned to care about my emotions, even as a man. And many people will tell you that as a man, you should feel emotionless, and your emotions shouldn't be regarded. I believe emotions should be regarded in your own solitude and should not be openly shared with everybody, because then it leaves a vulnerability for them to pry on and go ahead and use you for whatever it may be, because people are always going to be people. People are trying to achieve their dreams. People will assist you on... Some people will assist you, but others will use you. That's just... As much as I want to believe that the world is all happy, la-di-da-di-da, that everybody has good in them, that good in them may not be on the surface and has been buried deep down inside of them due to many circumstances in life. And probably what the book had mentioned was that they were unmade champions, and were probably born champions, but they were unmade them through the environments, through the dialogue that people had spoke to them. And it takes practice. I'll say it like this: it does take practice to regain confidence in yourself. And hearing and reading the example that Trevor had put himself through in 2018, exposing to constant negativity, really resonated, because the words that the feelings he began to feel were entirely new to him, or to them. Apologies. When those feelings have been something that feels normal to me, this idea of doubting it would work. And now this idea of, I've had a lot more hope. I've been moving in a direction that is hopeful. That's why I have these. If you read some of the one of the descriptions has it, and I said it in a different one, that I'm at the right place at the right time. That everything that happens to me is good. The law of substitution, that your mind can only be focused on one thing at one time. Even though you have many, many thoughts, and it's already been shown that we are not great multitaskers. Humans are not great multitaskers. We just swap the thought we have on the forefront, almost instantaneously, to look like we're great multitaskers. But having a video on the side is not helping you study when that video is trying to also process information. Music is different due to the messages and energy that's put into the music to go ahead and assist you. That's why they tell you to listen to classical music. You're not listening to, death. You're not listening to death metal, or you're not listening to bluegrass or the blues while studying. Maybe some people are. I know, but that's their life, that's not mine. And however you live your life is absolutely beautiful in its own way. Anyways, I'm at the gym. It's a lot on my mind to be carrying this idea. It's a lot of information to be processing. No, let me say it like this. It is information that I am processing that is giving me direction in my life to obtain goals that improve my quality of life, that bring me wealth, health, abundance, prosperity, clarity, and mental focus to achieve the bigger goals that I have within my mind. I believe I understand now the importance of a plan, with the idea of the law of substitution being explained in the book, because with a plan, you're no longer wasting, or let me say it like this. With a plan, it gives you a sense of direction and a point of grounding to focus on while you work out. I come to the gym without a workout plan. Let me rephrase that. I don't have a written workout plan exactly with the weights that I'm going to throw on. I have a vague outline inside my mind, and that gives me a sense of direction. A different book told me if I cannot measure it, I can't manage it. I'm not measuring what I'm lifting at, what I'm weighing at, all these things that are important, and I know are important. I shouldn't say should. Should is not a word that should be in my. Should is not a word in my dictionary, as the word can't wasn't in Trevor's as a kid growing. And so a lot of what I'm doing now is rephrasing how I go about speaking to myself, internally, externally, and to others, for the sake of growth. This is an active attempt at growth and an active practice I am embarking on every day, every moment, all the time. A plan gives you direction. Have a goal, set micro goals, not because you need the dopamine of the smaller goals. No, I believe that's misinformation that other people have provided and not understood that setting these smaller goals is to serve as a roadmap for conscious thought and direction to reach the bigger goal. It takes the act of doing it. And I will quote Yoda here: do or do not. There is no try. And the word try is another word that I am eliminating or eliminating from my vocabulary due to its misleading nature. I am unlearning a lot that has been instilled in me, because I have learned that I am no longer at a point in my life where I can say I was raised this way. And now I can say, this is who I am. This is who I choose to be. Being conscious in a lot more of my thoughts. And it's aching and troubling. As it's of a war in itself inside of me, to know that I want better for myself, and I now sit here and I understand that it requires this level of sacrifice too, unfortunately. However, if they love you, they will still be there. That I need to go ahead and destroy or alter or rebuild the image of myself that my parents have of me. That I am no longer the kid who would eat all the sweets in the cabinet, who woke up in the middle of the night eating all the sweets, who was labeled as a garbage disposal because I could eat so much food, because I believed that no food should go to waste, because I was constantly instilled inside my mind that there's people out there in the world that are starving, and that is very true. But those people who are starving are not as far away as they make it seem. Sometimes they're around your corner, and you don't know that. However, I can make the conscious choice to also understand that I have goals, and me eating the food does not please them. It only pleased my parents because they spent their dime on it, believing that that's what I wanted, because that's all they knew. And it's interesting now dissecting these situations and scenarios that I experience. A lot more of them. Sitting at home and playing video games, even though I've restricted myself a lot more now to be these 2 hours of focused video games now, not mindlessly playing anymore. That idea of mindlessly playing to pass the time is a concept that is becoming foreign to me, because things being done should have a purpose to them, including leisure. Leisure is just to relax, to understand that there's nothing else happening in this world except for that moment. That's what meditation is for me. And meditation will tell you to understand your... Oh, funny enough, I can't use the word "you're" there. Understand that it just is. That it is all, and all is. And I believe coming across this book, especially after I spent so much time meditating, when meditation had led me to a point where I believed that none of it matters. Is just so interesting. From going to I care about all these things, to shattering my life through my own actions, to then going through a spiritual journey and embarking through finding a purpose, to understanding that I have the choice in my life to pick something that I can wholeheartedly put myself into, to now being at a point where I believe that I need to find this purpose immediately. However, that's a case I'm coming across that isn't true, and that before I begin to embark on this vision of picking a purpose, I should really cement a solid foundation before I begin to build upwards. And at the same time, it's very frustrating, but then I remember a clip I saw on Instagram where it is, if you focus on the top of the mountain while you're climbing, you're going to get very frustrated. So focus at your feet and take it one step at a time. You'll see a lot more at your feet than you will constantly looking at the top of the mountain. Alright, this one was another longer one. It's what, we're at 20 minutes? I feel these are a lot more, let me say it like this. Spending the time here before going into the gym, especially when I want to go ahead and be mindful as I do each of these workouts, as I set this goal for myself to lose weight. And I realize now that losing weight, I didn't put a definite number on it. This vagueness is also hurting me because I'm not setting a deadline. I'm not setting I'm not setting a distinctive weight that I want to get to, weights that I want to lift. So a lot of today is planning out things I know I want to do, even if it's just this one thing is the gym right now. But I can also list out the things that I do not want to do, that I do not want to occur in my life. And this is just taking wisdom and knowledge from the book. You know, negativity is on the things that you can stop doing immediately. You don't have to do the better things. Stop doing the things that are anyways. Thank you for being here. If it's future me listening to this one, remember you are strong. Hey, maybe there's phlegm in my respiratory tract, you know? Maybe I have phlegm right now. Anyways, you're strong. You are firm. You are amazing. And I'm grateful that you're here today. Mwah. You know, I find it crazier that I'm leaving early. Holy cow. I'm leaving earlier on arm day, when arm day used to be one of my favorite workout days. And crazy enough, this is actually another talk, but this time on my drive back home. And so this is something different. Why? Well, I actually left the gym early because what I had said earlier in this car about not having a plan, I felt it wholeheartedly. Now, it may be because I spoke it into existence for myself, that a plan doesn't have any sense of direction. But what I also began to realize from a different book, which was the Complexity Crisis. Don't know the author of that one. However, the quote that stung with me from that book is, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. That is a very big one. Another one also too is to define the problem before you try to solve the problem. So what's the problem here? I'm trying to solve it. I'm like, I'm trying to lose weight, right? However, you know, time and time again, I've embarked on this idea of losing weight, and I kind of stopped speaking it out loud to other people. And, you know, it was like nobody was force feeding me, nobody was telling me not to go to the gym, nothing like that. It was always my own doing that ended up effing it up, because I believed I got to a point to where I was sufficient, and then everything would falter, and then I would regress, not realizing that it was a daily commitment. Anyways, I'm getting sidetracked. Having a plan. I left and I asked myself, because I'm now using the ideas from the book called Principles by Ray Dalio, is understand like the first, second, and third order consequences of your actions. Such as, if I eat this cookie right now, what's the first order consequence? Well, I'm gonna feel good. Second order, well, now that's extra calories that I consume. Third order, well, this goes ahead and delays this greater goal that I had planned for myself, right? And so what's this first order plan that I had, or what was the action I was taking? Like, I'm leaving the gym today. Well, what's the first order consequence of this? I am cutting myself short of a workout specifically for my arms. What's the second order consequence? Well, actually taking this action will allow me to go home earlier to begin planning throughout the day. And what's the third order consequence of that one? Having a plan will ensure that that this action does not repeat again, in order to lead to the first order consequence, which was that I cut myself short of a great workout, especially when those muscles are well rested. Now, am I using the principles well enough? That takes practice. I might have to go and read the book again a bit more. That one was one I was touching up on. And really cementing these things into my principles, my standards, my rules of thumbs, my methods, because that's what successful people have. They have standards. They have things that they follow. And one of those, especially in It Takes What It Takes, is the idea that you gotta have great fundamentals, great balance. And there was another one about not being present, but being present very is close to it. Be engaged in what you're doing. My mind was not fully engaged in each of these workouts because I was so focused and clustered on the plan. Now, it would have been great practice if I'm like, okay, let's work out through this. Let's just do the workouts that feel right. And now that I sit here and drive back home, I'm like, oh man, I should have done that. But if I've learned anything from this book, that's in the past. I'm in the car. I am now talking here, appreciating this moment to go ahead and self-reflect and learn that I need a plan, so that I understand when I get home, I'm going to sit down and record myself actually constructing this plan, keep myself accountable to then go ahead and have this plan and to put in place metrics for myself to go ahead and see the progress, to see where I'm faltering, so I have no excuse. Now, I know I'm at the right place at the right time. I know I am. Me taking this step, me taking this action is correct. I'm not going to doubt myself. I'm going to have hope that this is the correct action. But it's rather, I know that this is the correct action to sit down with myself. There's things I was telling myself in the gym where I need to go ahead and reflect on my previous success, because I was successful for a reason. And I asked myself, what was really the success that led me to that? And it might have not been just my own doing, but rather the people around me and the structure of the said environment that really led to my success. And what that was constant exposure to material that developed me, and having a deadline, having exams, having these places where I know this is upcoming. And if I do not obtain said, exam or pass it or work towards it in my mind, there begins to be this faltering idea. So I have to go ahead and set goals for myself for the next few months leading up to the end of this year. And it's not set goals that are super low that I can, easily obtain just so I feel good, but rather setting goals that challenge myself and challenge my resolve to what it is that I am pursuing that really matter. And this goes across all sectors of my life. And it becomes now these homework assignments for myself I believe school doesn't teach you how to implement these tactics outside of academia, because teachers are no longer taught that, because they're taught to simply keep their students engaged in course material. So they go ahead and feel that the time is flying by. I have to accept the fact that I am academically smart, and I am very much well fit and well structured to work in an academic environment. And so I should leverage the academic structure that has been reinforced and hammered into my mind to obtain other goals within my life. That's just very true. That is true. I understand that I was this quote unquote book smart, as my father would put it. I accept that I am this quote unquote book smart. Now that I accept it, how can I go ahead and leverage this to be absolutely phenomenal? And so, what does academia have for me? How does it actually teach me to do well? Well, we spend time learning a subject from someone who has experience in the field. Or rather, even from a book itself. You have someone that explains the subject to you. You have the studying that you do yourself to go ahead and reinforce the learning that you experienced. Then you have the actual implementation of the knowledge that you've learned in practice. Then you have the process of reflection through peers that needs to be studied. And then you have examinations in which it in a timely manner test your knowledge on the fly for the things that you have learned. That is the importance of schooling. That is what I've come to accept, I've come to learn, and I don't believe I was very much aware of it, because I can only speak for I can't speak for other people. I think it is great that I need to stop saying I think, because I already know that I had thought this. It is now expression outwards. It is great that I am vocalizing this. It is great that I am becoming very much aware of this. I am grateful for this awareness. I will use this awareness to improve my life. Mwah. Yeah, and it's a revelation. And I have to set myself up like I'm in school. And it's test for yourself. People hate school for numerous reasons. A mass majority is because they believe that it's taking up their time to do something they believe is more important. Whatever more important to them is, or whatever important is to them. However, I believe academia needs to alter in the general knowledge that we teach people and revamp how we approach educating people moving forward. And I'm very much okay with specialization occurring in the academic setting. having people spend their lifetime specializing in something. Now that we are constantly exposed to a lot of information, and children are now understanding what they want to be more of at a younger age, that this old metric or this old method for getting everyone up to speed is becoming outdated and needs revision. Exactly the level of revision that's required, I still believe that younger children need to be taught up to a certain point. I would want to say up till they're about 10 to 12. Very fundamental levels of math, English, grammar, writing, to understand that everybody is at a base level. And then from there, allow specialization in specific fields that align with the child's interest. Because when the child is interested in said field, you can use this topic to go ahead and help develop critical thinking skills to allow them to, whenever they decide, very much be open to the idea that a child is able to pivot, to use the knowledge that they learn from a specific field to pivot into a new field and bring a new perspective that's honed and crafted. That's my current theory. Anyways, I'm home. I gotta go plan. Anyways, see ya. Mwah.